It's time for NCW Life News on the NCW Life channel. The latest from around the Wenatchee Valley and North Central Washington with Steve Hare, Cody Johnson, and sports with Eric Granstrom.
Well, good evening and welcome to NCW Life News. I'm Steve Hare. A few of the stories we're following for you tonight. A murder trial is delayed in the Cashmere Colt case. A popular Douglas County bistro is robbed overnight. Representative Reichert reacts to the shooting in today's shooting in Virginia at a congressional baseball game, and a local girl raises a massive amount of money for the Children's Hospital of Seattle. Later on, of course, we have Eric Granstrom. He has your sports report and, of course, our comprehensive weather forecast coming up with Dan Kuhn. First of all, our top story, a murder trial has been delayed for a man charged with the death of a Cashmere man 30 years ago. 60-year-old Bernard Swaim appeared in Chelan County Superior Court Tuesday afternoon. He and his wife, 57-year-old Dawn Souls, are charged with first-degree murder in the death of Stephen Smith, who disappeared in 1982. Swaim's trial was slated to start next week, but Judge Leslie Allen granted a defense request for a continuance despite Swaim's objection.
I am not granting this continuance for Mr. Shea. If I rush Mr. Yednak to go to trial when he's not ready to go to trial and you get convicted, then we almost have a guarantee of an appeal with an argument of ineffective assistance of counsel because he's not fully prepared to represent you, and then we end up redoing the case in 2 years after we've been through the appeal system, and I'm not willing to do that. I recognize you would rather go to trial next week. Mr. Yednak has told me very clearly that he's not ready to do that, and so I am granting the continuance over your objection, understanding that, but I'm doing my best to give us a date where we know we're going to go. You're not going to be competing with any other case, and it's enough time that your attorney can be ready to go. The state has got to give everything sort of immediately to Mr. Yednak so he can be ready to go, and then you can have your day in court.
Now, Swaim became a person of interest after detectives received information from the victim's family members. Souls had been married to Smith, but divorced in 1982. Souls then married Swaim. Chelan County documents say Souls and Swaim drove to Cashmere and conspired to get Smith intoxicated and kill him. Swaim and Souls remain in custody. Bail, $1 million each for Swaim and $500,000 for Souls. A popular Douglas County bistro is closed after 3 suspected robbers broke into the business overnight. Lisa B's is located in the Baker Flat area. Owners reported in a Facebook post that 3 men wearing masks and gloves were observed on a surveillance camera inside the building. Lisa B's owners are offering a $500 reward for information leading to the suspect's arrest. The Douglas County Sheriff's Department is investigating that case. Also today, Congressman Dave Reichert reacting to today's shooting in Alexandria, Virginia, where Representative Steve Scalise and 3 other people were wounded. Reichert shared his concerns of the shooting and how it could result in increased security for members of Congress.
You're elected by the people, part of the citizenry, and I guess I hope we don't get to that point. However, I think as most people know, from my background, we've increased security at my district offices. I know that's frustrated some people over the last year especially, but I think that hopefully people can see now why, with my experience, that's one of the first things I did and felt a great need to protect my office staff and those that come to visit.
Congressman Scalise was reportedly being treated for a bullet wound to his hip. A congressional aide and 2 police officers were also wounded. It happened during a GOP baseball practice this morning. The suspected shooter was then shot and killed. A 14-year-old McKenna Schwab recently teamed up with actor Chris Pratt to raise money for Children's Hospital of Seattle. People donated money for a chance to hang out with the star of Jurassic World 2 in Hawaii. Well, needless to say, the campaign exceeded all expectations.
Crowd Rise campaign, we were able to raise over $828,000. That's all going to go to the Seattle Children's Orthopedics Department. I hope that it would go to a gait lab, and that is what we were funding for last Make a Difference Day. and it's basically this long runway with special cameras and pressure plates, and the patient will walk down the runway and the cameras will watch the way that the bones move and the way the patient walks, and the pressure plates will kind of measure the weight distribution between the two legs, and so the doctors can use it as a before and after, and then they don't have to rely on memory, and then they can assess what treatment would be the best for that specific patient. When I was talking with Chris during the campaign, we both are just so thankful for everybody that has donated, and we're both so blown away by the amount of money we were able to raise, and so we're just super, like I said, super thankful, and it's totally like blown us away. Like, we'd never thought that we could raise that much money, and it just kind of goes to show we always remind each other that with God we can do anything, and that kind of totally proved what we've been telling each other.
There's a young lady who's going places. Coming up, windy conditions over the past couple of days fueled grass fires locally. They're now contained near Rock Island and SR 28. I'm Steve Hare. You're watching NCW Life News.
Stay up to date with what's happening in North Central Washington. Go to the NCW Life community calendar at ncwlife.com.
Welcome back to NCW Life News. Well, firefighters are resting a little easier today as those windy conditions that fueled 2 grass fires this week have subsided significantly. State Route 28, though, near Rock Island was closed for nearly an hour yesterday afternoon as crews battled a brush fire in Douglas County. Call came out around 3:30 in the afternoon about a quickly moving blaze at the intersection of Rock Island Road and SR 28. Soon thereafter, the Rock Island Road and the main highway, Sunset Highway, SR 28, was closed in both directions. 30-plus mile-an-hour gusts blew smoke and ash easterly toward Rock Island. Crews from Douglas and Chelan County joined together to contain the blaze after it became perilously close to at least one home. They were finally able to get it under control. Couple of hours. We received some photos, by the way. Shout out to our Facebook friends, Patty Royer, who took some shots of the fire from her car window, and Gwen Randall Funner. She sent us 3 pictures from above the highway. And, well, as of 5 p.m. yesterday, SR 28 and Rock Island Road had been reopened. Also, the cause of that fire is still under investigation. But again, kudos to those fire crews, and thanks also to our Facebook friends for sharing those pictures. A group of World War II veterans were treated to a ride on a vintage B-25 bomber this week at Pangbourne Airport. They were invited by the Commemorative Air Force Arizona Base, nonprofit group who restores those historic aircraft. The bomber, named Made in the Shade, flew into the Wenatchee Valley on Monday in advance of this week's Aviation Day event at the airport. Here you can see her landing on the tarmac. The fully restored B-25J Mitchell aircraft flew 15 combat missions during the Second World War. It was named after General Billy Mitchell. It was considered one of the best weapons and possibly the most versatile aircraft of World War II. The plane will be on display Friday through Sunday between 2 and 6 p.m. $10 will get you a ride, $20 for a family of 4. And Washington State Fish and Wildlife being criticized for not immediately responding to a gray wolf attack in Ferry County. State Representative Joel Kretz said the incident involves 2 recent livestock deaths. He said the first carcass was discovered earlier in the week by a range rider, who in turn reported it to the state wolf program officials. Kretz said the rider was instructed to cover the carcass with a tarp until officers responded the next morning.
Was told that they couldn't make it out there that night, to just throw a tarp over the calf's body and leave it, and they would be up in the morning. And, you know, the problem with that is this is, by law, supposed to be treated as a crime scene, and the evidence needs to be preserved, and it's really important to find out, was it a wolf, was it not a wolf? And, you know, the first bear that comes through there could have ate the whole thing that night, destroyed all the evidence, and there we sit with no confirmed depredation, which means the depredations are going to keep going on. So, you know, I'm just upset that, once again, the department's coming up short. You would think that they would be able to provide somebody, you know, within a reasonable distance to get up there immediately and get the evidence, preserve the evidence while it's fresh, and make a determination.
Representative Kretz said the calf's death has since been confirmed as a wolf kill. In fact, the remains of a second dead calf were also found in the same vicinity as the first animal. It, too, has now been determined to be a wolf kill. Gray wolves are a protected species in Washington state, with several packs within northeastern Washington, part of the state with the highest population. You're watching NCW Life News. Coming up next, Eric Granstrom with sports, and our feature today focuses on the Wenatchee Valley Senior Activity Center.
Get the fastest internet available in North Central Washington by switching to LocalTel and get speeds up to 1,000 meg. Call 888-8888 today or go online to localtel.net.
And now it's a sports update on the NCW Life Channel.
And a good Wednesday evening. Yakima broke open a tie game with a 4-run sixth inning en route to a 6-3 win over the Apple Sox last night. It's Paul Thomas Senior Field. Voice of the Apple Sox, Trevor Williams, has the story.
Well, in baseball, you just simply can't win them all. The Apple Sox proved that last night, a 6-3 final to the Yakima Valley Pippins. The Pippins able to salvage a game in the series, but what a homestand it was for Wenatchee. 4-2 at Paul Thomas Senior Stadium after a little bit of a rough start to the year. 2-4 on the road. The team right there in the race for the West Coast League North at the top of the standings near both Victoria and Bellingham now, who share the first place spot in the West Coast League North. Apple Sox scored 3 runs in the night, but really it was runners left in scoring position that was the problem. 1 for 10 for Wenatchee, unable to cash in on some important situations. Gabe Taylor had the 9 innings for the Yakima Valley Pippins, and the starter up on the mound through the complete game to help Yakima salvage a game in the set. The Apple Sox now head down to Bend tonight, a 6:35 first pitch. Alan Embry, former major leaguer, is the head coach of the Elks in his first season. It's going to be fun for the Apple Sox to see a new opponent, try to see if they can make it 4 straight series wins. Remember, they'll be back at home this weekend, Saturday through Monday.
Thank you much, Trevor. In that 6th inning, the Pippins took advantage of 2 errors, walks, and a wild pitch to post 4 runs in the frame as Yakima salvaged the final game of that 4-game series. The lone bright spot for Wenatchee continued to be Evan Johnson, the University of Northern Colorado senior from Snoqualmie. Went 2 for 4 with a double, an RBI, and 2 runs scored. Johnson's hitting .383 on the young season, leads the league with 14 RBIs. Also in the West Coast League last night, Bellingham swept a doubleheader from Gresham 5-3 and 4-0. Cowlitz over Kelowna 6-4. It was Corvallis downing Bend 17-6, and Victoria stopped Port Angela 7-3. So you see the North Division standings: Bellingham and Victoria atop at 7-5. Wenatchee in 3rd place at 6-6. Kelowna 5-5. Walla Walla 4-5. Port Angeles at 5-7. Well, you'd think it was the Vikings missing an extra point downing the Seahawks 20-7, but no, it's June, not football season. It was baseball last night, or I guess you could call it that. The Twins obliterated the Mariners by that count at Target Field. The Twins set a franchise record with 28 hits, while the 42 combined hits between the two teams was a Target Field record. Eddie Rosario paced the offensive onslaught for Minnesota with 3 home runs. The Twins hit 5 long balls in the contest, and only 1 player in the lineup didn't get a hit. Manager Scott Service said, "This is a game you have to flush if you're his ball club."
We couldn't stop them. I just kept squaring it up, and right when I thought we'd kind of get back in the game or try to get something going, just get close enough, and then nor could we stop them. So it is 1 loss, and we've been going very good, but tonight just was not a good night.
Jared Dyson went 2 for 4 for Seattle with a solo home run in the second. Christian Bergman was lit up in the loss, allowing 9 runs on 10 hits and just 2 2/3. Service said he threw a lot of balls that were right out over the plate.
He's done that before. We struggled and gone back out and put a couple zeros up, but he just really did not make any adjustments tonight. The ball was just, it was thigh high, and nothing had any tilt to it, or not a whole lot of movement on it either. But yeah, go into the bullpen there in the 2nd inning or 3rd inning, not where we wanted to go. Eventually it got to the point we had to, and Casey Lawrence hung in there and gave us all he could there for a while.
Sam Gaviglio on the mound for Seattle tonight. Minnesota's Irvin Santana will counter. Also in the American League last night, it was Miami downing Oakland 8-1. Texas over Houston 4-2. LA beat the Yankees 3-2 in 11 innings. There you see the standings. With sports on the NCW Life Channel, I'm Eric Granstrom. Steve, back to you.
Thanks, Eric. Well, the Wenatchee Valley Senior Center has a brand new roof thanks to a successful fundraising effort of the last year. Our feature report today, Executive Director Dave Tosh, reporting today that he was amazed by the community support for that organization.
You know, we started planning this about a little over a year ago, and identified how we were going to approach the whole process, one of which was a raffle prize. First prize was a Caribbean cruise for two from Journey Travel, and they donated that item, and then we got a couple other items thrown in there. And so we started selling raffle tickets in support of the roof in August. So we raised $14,000 through the sale of those raffle tickets, and we were pretty pleased with that. But we also obviously had a lot of donations from our membership and the community. And I want to give another shout out to our community foundation, Best Stipes organization. We were approved to receive a grant for $10,000, and then they had the crowdfunding back in November and December, raised another $7,000. And then there was a big donor that came along and wrote a big check, and that total amounted to $67,000. We got a check from the community foundation that went into this fundraising effort. So we had multiple $5,000 donors, and it was just amazing. We had a lot of checks for $10, $15, you know, all of that added together. And so we got, our goal was set at $100,000 because we knew the estimates were going to be close to that. And yet we raised over $160,000. So the roof is on now. Yeah, just completed a couple weeks ago. Looks really good. It's a 40-year roof, and we couldn't be more pleased. K&R Roofing, a local business here, put the roof on for us, and they did a spectacular job. I want to just say that it's an amazing community that we live in.
Amen to that.
To raise that kind of money for an organization of our size, you know, is just overwhelming, and we are so pleased with what the community support.
And again, that was Dave Tosh on today's Wake Up Wenatchee Valley program with host Dan Coons. Hey, we'll be right back in just a moment with a recap of our top stories of the day and your weather forecast for North Central Washington.
Stay up to date with what's happening in North Central Washington. Go to the NCW Life community calendar at ncwlife.com.
Welcome back to our Wednesday NCW Life News, recapping some of the stories that we've been covering today. A murder trial has been delayed for a man charged in the death of a Kashmir man 30 years ago. 60-year-old Bernard Swaim appeared in Chelan County Superior Court Tuesday afternoon. He and his wife, 57-year-old Dawn Souls, are charged with first-degree murder in the death of Stephen Smith, who disappeared in 1982. Swaim's trial was slated to start next week. Judge Leslie Allen granted a defense request for a continuance despite Swaim's objection.
I am not granting this continuance for Mr. Shea. If I rush Mr. Yednak to go to trial when he's not ready to go to trial and you get convicted, then we almost have a guarantee of an appeal with an argument of ineffective assistance of counsel because he's not fully prepared to represent you, and then we end up redoing the case in 2 years after we've been through the appeal system, and I'm not willing to do that. I recognize you would rather go to trial next week. Mr. Yednak has told me very clearly that he's not ready to do that, and so I am granting the continuance over your objection, understanding that, but I'm doing my best to give us a date where we know we're going to go. You're not going to be competing with any other case, and it's enough time that your attorney can be ready to go. The state has got to give everything sort of immediately to Mr. Yednak so he can be ready to go, and then you can have your day in court.
Now, Swaim became a person of interest in the Stephen Smith murder after detectives received information from the victim's family. Souls had been married to Smith, but divorced in 1982. Souls then married Swaim. Chelan court documents say Souls and Swaim drove to Kashmir and conspired to get Smith drunk, then kill him. Swaim and Souls remain in custody. $1 million bail for Swaim. Souls is being held on a $500,000 bail. A popular Douglas County bistro is closed today after 3 suspected robbers broke into the business overnight. Lisa B's is located in the Baker Flat area. Owners reported in a Facebook post that 3 men wearing masks and gloves were observed on a surveillance camera inside the building. Here you see those surveillance images. Lisa B's owners are offering a $500 reward for information leading to the suspect's arrest. Douglas County Sheriff's Department is investigating that case. Congressman Dave Reichert reacts to this morning's shooting in Alexandria, Virginia, where Representative Steve Scalise and 3 other people were wounded. Reichert shared his concerns of the shooting and how it could result in increased security for members of Congress.
You're elected by the people, part of the citizenry, and I guess I hope we don't get to that point. However, I think as most people know, from my background, we've increased security at my district offices. I know that's frustrated some people over the last year especially, but I think that hopefully people can see now why, with my experience, that's one of the first things I did and felt a great need to protect my office staff and those that come to visit.
Now, the latest we have is that Congressman Scalise is expected to make a full recovery. He was being treated for a bullet wound to his hip. A congressional aide and 2 police officers were also injured. It happened during a GOP baseball practice. The suspected shooter was shot and killed. 14-year-old McKenna Schwab recently teamed up with actor Chris Pratt to raise money for Children's Hospital in Seattle. People donated money for a chance to hang out with the star of Jurassic World 2 in Hawaii. Well, needless to say, the campaign exceeded all expectations.
The Crowd Rise campaign, we were able to raise over $828,000. That's all going to go to the Seattle Children's Orthopedics Department. I hope that it would go to a gait lab, and that is what we were funding for last Make a Difference Day. And it's basically this long runway with special cameras and pressure plates, and the patient will walk down the runway and the cameras will watch the way that the bones move and the way the patient walks, and the pressure plates will kind of measure the weight distribution between the 2 legs, and so the doctors can use it as a before and after, and then they don't have to rely on memory, and then they can assess what treatment would be the best for that specific patient. When I was talking with Chris during the campaign, we both are just so thankful for everybody that has donated, and we're both so blown away by the amount of money we were able to raise. And so we're just super, like I said, super thankful, and it's totally, like, blown us away. Like, we'd never thought that we could raise that much money, and it just kind of goes to show we always remind each other that with God we can do anything, and that kind of totally proved what we've been telling each other.
What an inspiring story, definitely. Congratulations on that fundraising effort to you, McKenna, and to Chris Pratt. Time for our weather now and the forecast with Dan Kuntz.
After dry but cool Wednesday for north central Washington, we transition to a brief period of rain on Thursday as a low-pressure system skirts the area tomorrow and tomorrow night. The low pressure will begin to exit the region on Friday, and that will allow a dome of high pressure to build and strengthen, and bringing with it sunshine and mild temperatures. The clouds will increase overnight tonight, expected low of about 55. We have a good chance of rain on Thursday, especially between noon and 4 tomorrow. The forecast high Thursday of 69. About 10 degrees cooler than normal. The rain is expected to taper off Thursday night. Overnight low of 56, and as Friday progresses, the sun will return. We should hit 72 or so on Friday afternoon, still below normal. But for Father's Day weekend, sunshine, and lots of it. As the high pressure builds in the afternoon, high temperatures will climb from 78 on Saturday to near 90 by Monday and Tuesday. And a reminder, the summer solstice arrives at 9:24 Tuesday evening. And that's your forecast on the NCW Life channel.
And that'll do it for our program today. For more on these stories and other news and information from around north central Washington, you can find us on Facebook or Twitter, also our website at ncwlife.com. Always remember, if you see news happening, please share it with us. You can do it by email at news@ncwlife.com or give us a call on the hotline at 888-NCWL. That's 888-6295 for news tips. I'm Steve Hare.
This has been NCW Life News on the NCW Life channel. For more news, log on to ncwlife.com. Like us on Facebook and follow NCW Life channel on Twitter.
Get the fastest internet available in North Central Washington by switching to LocalTel and get speeds up to 1,000 meg. Call 888-8888 today or go online to localtel.net.